Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers.
I thank everybody that's involved with this process because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers.
Experience is not about the publisher, it is about us, the authors.
Greetings. Welcome to Readers Magnet Festival Storytellers. I am Lonnie Bray-Ill, author of Moorish American Nationality Keys of the Moorish American Institute, The Book of Moors, and the best business book, The Black, White, Green of What Colleges Don't Teach, the black, white, and green in between what colleges and universities don't teach in 33 pages and 3 days. I'm going to talk with you today about writing for journalism. We have 30 minutes. If you have questions, you can shout them out in the text sidebar there. And here we go. Writing for journalism. We're going to talk about how to capture the story. We're going to talk about business, and we're going to talk about integrity. First thing, writing as a journalist. You may have a story. This includes writing for fiction as well, because you may have a character who is a journalist. Doesn't have to be your main character, but you might be able to gain some jewels about how to make your readers convinced that your character, or one of your characters, is a journalist. So, as a journalist, you need to go after a story. As a journalist, we don't always know what the story is going to be. We just go. We got an idea, something happened, something's going on, and we're out there looking, writing, and filming. It's very easy to do. Oh, hi, Bob. I hope I can teach you something because you're looking to learn something. So, You pick up, you go, you find your story. That's not always the case, but pretty much the bread and butter of, I think, most journalism is run and gun. You go. I wanted to talk journalism because it's not so structured. There's no definite way to do it, but there are some steps that you need to accomplish in journalism to convince your readers that you are a writer of integrity. And one of those things, I'm going to skip way towards the end of writing your piece, is going to be presenting the opposing side. You're going to want to give strong, viable, maybe, argument against what your findings are. And then ultimately, right after that, you're going to refute them. So part of the one of the elements of journalism is presenting the opposite side. And another part is, or the B part of that, is refuting that opposition. Lately, some prominent journalists or documentarians, kind of crosses the lines now with everybody having cameras, But some journalists, some documentarians lately, I'd say the last 20 years or so, do not present the opposite side. It's straightforward. They bombard you with their ideas. Classic journalism, true journalism, what we're looking for is the opposing side. Somewhere that you don't want to convince your readers of the opposite side, but you do want to give them something to go with and do some research on their own. And hopefully, ultimately, if you are of integrity, you have written your findings in truth, and they're going to find that that's truth as well once they do their research. In that sense, writing for journalism is like writing for science, because your peers are judging you, and they're reviewing your work. Bob from Montgomery comments, this reminds me of Hegel's thesis, antithesis, synthesis. All right, I'm not going to go that deep. In journalism, where we are, so we're 11 minutes in. I think we started a little late. I'm not sure exactly where we are, but I want to make sure I cover a certain number of topics for you. Writing in journalism, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time of how to actually do that. As I said, there is no law for how to do that. You're gonna capture the story. You're gonna write what you heard, what others told you they heard and saw. You're gonna put a story together. So that's the main thing to think about. Always, it's the basics. It's the bread and butter. It's the glue. Hi, Lorenzo Thomas. Wonderful seeing you today as well. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. In writing for journalism, when you go out to get your story, you're going to meet opposition. So what we're going to talk about next is opposition. It's not easy always to go just get your facts. When you're writing for journalism, you're doing more than picking through and finding an old book in a library. You are picking into people's minds that may not want you picking into their minds sometimes. So your task as a journalist is to figure out how to get people to tell you what they may not want you to know. How to do that. Well, if you have to get into a building, it helps to take an attractive woman with you. If she gets in, you get in. All right, so this is real. That's real. You have to find tricky ways to get at what you want to know. You have to be adventurous. Journalists are adventurers. They're daring, they're bold. You have to, on this one hand, pacify your listener for a time, and there's a psychological technique to gain trust. And then you pop the big question on them. And, it's something that makes them feel uncomfortable, but it's the thing that you need to know. It's the reason you came. So learn some psychological techniques about how to get people to tell you things that they don't want to tell you is helpful in journalism. For your integrity, for your money, let's talk about your money, because, we're in business. We love what we're doing as writers. Ultimately, that's what you're going to focus on. You have to as a journalist, because you're unlikely to get rich. If you get rich, you attracted some attention that they're now your enemies. You said something against or for one thing, and that means you're against this other thing. So when you gain friends, you gain enemies. When you start writing opinions and findings, you gain friends and you gain enemies. Don't worry about that. If you're doing this for love, you're doing it for love. Hi, Corano Romano, how are you today? Thank you for listening. If you're doing this for love, then you're right on track. If you're not doing it for love and you're writing just for money, something's wrong with your karma. You're sense of peace is probably off. But however, if you're doing it for money, some people are already doing it for money, just simply for money, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a lot better than some other things. So um, you still can't just sell out and, well, you can. All right, so here you can just sell out and write the opinion that somebody pays you to write. It happens every day. Are you going to be that kind of person? Maybe. I don't know. But there's money for that. So I have to give you both sides of the same coin. There's an evil side to journalism. There's the side that gets all the findings, goes through the research, and truly should issue findings different than what they actually find. But you find that people who sponsor them to do the surveys or conduct the experiments or whatever are often biased. So they have money interest. It would be nice to not write only for money, but we do need to pay bills. Yes, Bob. That's the sad thing about today. Yeah. So I'm guilty of it too, in a certain way of like going for money, but I found ways to still do what I love and do some human good. Give you an example here lately. Last year, I had the wonderful opportunity to work with Dr. Mary Weems, a new movie producer, a first-time movie producer, on a movie that I shot. She wrote, I shot it and edited it, and it's about human trafficking. Long story short, we've won 12 awards, some in New York, some in Paris. We won in London, Los Angeles, for things like Best Director, Best First Time Director, Best Actor, Best Short Film, Best Short Narrative. And the point here is that now I've decided to structure short films coming up with the idea of being focused on human trafficking, in particular surviving human trafficking, because Dr. Mary Weems has opened up this channel now of people who want to see our work. So you can do good and think money at the same time. All right, me particular, are you asking, Betty, or are you asking like writers, or what my opinion of how writers should handle this dilemma here, or is this your question to me? I'll try to answer. I'll start trying to answer them both. If this is your question to me, I'm not going to compromise myself or my integrity. I'm a true writer, and as far as money goes, I'm of the belief that no matter what you write, no matter what you believe, no matter what you think, no matter what you feel, if you opinionate it, if you compartmentalize it and market it, somebody's going to buy it, and you're going to have friends. So it's all right. I hope I answered your question. What made me interested in journalism? A class I decided to take in graduate school. I thought I knew everything there was about telling a story. And then documentary writing, journalism happened. And it opened another world for me. Now, I don't consider myself a journalist. But my first published piece was a story in a newspaper here locally in Cleveland called Call and Post. I wrote an article called Master Mayo Knows Kung Fu. And I did what's called the artwork for it as well, which is I took a picture. And you see that in the ad. Journalism, the evils of journalism, what you're writing. Let's talk about that. Why are you writing? It's got to be something. It should be because you love something. But you might just have a job and get told to write a story. If you're on your own, you're probably writing stories that interest you. If somebody's paying you, you don't have to write what they tell you to write about something, but you're writing about that something. Go see what, there's a fire on 89th Street. Go over there and write something about it and get some art. Take a picture. Taking a picture is everything in journalism today. Writing for journalism, you're going to need a camera at least and a little ring light. You can spend like $10 and connect a ring light to your camera. They're awesome. So when I was doing the piece for Master Mayo, he is a local grandmaster of Kung Fu here, and he's a friend of mine. And he's taught, I don't know, he's probably had hundreds of students. He's always had an open Kung Fu school somewhere between East Cleveland and Glenville area. I think all the Kung Fu school. Actually, he had one downtown earlier. Yeah. So I went and documented that. I asked my friend some questions. It was a little easier for me to interview him and to ask him the tough questions because he's a friend. But sometimes that can be complicated, asking the tough questions of somebody you know. And I've ran into that because that can affect your personal life. Did you violate trust by buttering them up and then popping this question on them that they didn't know you were going to ask? So once you write a story, your findings do not have to be opinionated. You don't have to talk about whether you believe what you found out or not or anything. You write the findings. There tends to be a voice in journalistic writing, which should be unique. And that is little tidbits of our opinions. It comes off with art, not necessarily directly saying something, but our feelings can be detected. That's a fun thing about writing for journalism. I'll give you an example. Recently, there was a man. Oh, excuse me. Recently, there was a woman imprisoned in a woman's prison in Georgia. And I'm speaking in socially correct terms here. You're gonna see with the next line. The woman had a penis by birth, and the writer of the story said that she's getting kicked out of the prison so she doesn't impregnate any more women. She had impregnated 3 women. So you see, their opinions do come through. They're being funny sometimes. Being funny to some audience is important. You're supposed to be able to write a catchy headline, and you're supposed to be able to have the ability to make things funny. As a journalist, you talk about some serious, yes, as a journalist, you're always talking about a serious issue. But all the time, it's not socially jaw-dropping, as that last line may have been for some. Sometimes you're just writing about what's the best cat food, and being honest about that. But sometimes you're writing about things that affect people's lives, things that cause harm. And sometimes people ask you to write something funny about that. That's when, if you decide to do it, you're going to go into, I recommend, a pen name. You're not going to write somebody else's thoughts and opinions attached to your name, unless it's to the point where it's that greed factor and somebody's offered you a couple $2 billion and you're like, man, I don't care what anybody thinks of me about any kind of way. I have $2 billion. So I guess put a number on when you're going to sell out, because probably there's a greed factor. I know somebody who was fracting land And at first she cared about the land, but then she realized how much she had of it and what she could make real quick and didn't care the harm that it caused to the earth, you know. So do you think that journalism is a dangerous profession? Definitely, yeah. Yeah, people will tell you, get out of here or I'll shoot you. Yeah. You know, if you can imagine going abroad and being a wartime journalist, trying to spread to the world what's happening to a people and people with no voice. And you might be the only voice with a heart that cares and legs that are able. So, you know, do you go do it? Yep, probably. If you're a journalist, if you're a real journalist. And for your reward, that's what makes the money. That's what gets the money shots. Remember there's a famous National Geographic cover ad where a buzzard is following a broken over small African boy as he breaks down from thirst and hunger. He's dying. He's crawling. And there's people standing around. Some of them have machine guns. One of them's just smoking casually. You know, they're waiting to see if the boy's gonna die or what it is. You don't know. Do you remember? If you remember this image, you know what I'm talking about. The boy was between two warring tribes. The child, he was from a warring tribe, crawling back to his people. He was, you know, this far away. And the journalist took the picture. If he would have put hands on the boy to touch him, it would have been considered an act of war. And, you know, he could have got shot legally. So, long story short, for those who care, the boy made it. But the journalist who took the picture, he won awards. He remained a journalist. Part of being a journalist is getting involved in culture and learning how to show respect. If you can always remember to show respect, people are willing to teach you more about what that means. And sometimes what that means isn't what you mean, where you come from, but you're in somebody else's world sometimes in journalism, often for famous journalists, and you have to adapt. No, I don't think that journalism can be for everyone. I think that adventurous people, maybe even people who are kind of nuts become journalists. You're going against the grain of people. And this is something that another one of our readers, Jose Marcelo Vaquero Alvarez, talked about, is when you think differently than all the people you're surrounded with, that alone is counterintuitive to your production, your progression. It's difficult to go on. Well, we know the money and greed and influence of factors. Thank you, Eleanor. But one thing is simply being forced with a dilemma. You have this great story. This story could help a lot of people, save their lives, and make you a ton of money. If you publish it, somebody's threatened to kill you, and it's a viable threat. Do you publish it? Are you Salman Rushdie type? Salman Rushdie got away for a long time, and then 20 some odd years later, here comes a psycho, stabs Salman Rushdie in the neck. Is it worth it? I don't know. You look at Hollywood. Hollywood's mostly owned by Chinese companies now. The producers are Jewish. They make movies about destroying the entire world. They show you the come down of the crucifix white angel in Rio de Janeiro, real famous on top of the mountain. They show you that destroyed. They show you Rome destroyed. But one thing they don't show you is the Kaaba in Mecca being destroyed. Like, you don't see Thanos of Marvel Universe destroying no Muslim structures, because they're going to issue death threats, and not all of them, but some Muslim is going to issue a death threat. It's likely. And if you get it, then it's likely that it's viable, meaning it's credible. And you're going to now make a decision. You know, are you going to run forever to tell this story? Yeah, the Ayatollah Khomeini himself, the leader of a nation, put a hit out, a global hit out, a known hit out on this man. So, you know, how easy it is to motivate people to do that. If religion don't do it, money will. And money and religion, for the religious people who believe in, you know, killing people for what they say, they're doubly motivated. Would I put the story out? Probably not. Why? You put everybody in your family at risk. Did I already put a story out like that? Probably. But that's me. That's what I did. It's all on me. And I can't help it. It's like that little cartoon you might remember seeing from Disney. There's this little character, he's this little boy, and he's getting ready to do something mischievous behind his mom's back. And he says, "If I do it, I did a whipping." And then he thinks, and there's a bubble head over his head with the different symbols going by of what he may be thinking. And then he says, "I doed it." And he does it. I do it. I do for people what I think is best. That's what my handle, Administrative Law Guide, is about, and my slogan, which is, do you have my slogan? Can we put my slogan on there? Ha ha, challenging. I'm gonna challenge you. Can you do that? Can we put my website on there, show them that? Because it's at the top of my website. Knowing more about, can you see that? I just want to know if anybody's looking at it. My website is themoorisamericaninstitute.org. The Moorish, Moorish, American Institute.org. I'd love to see if somebody could put that slogan there for me. But yeah, I'm about human togetherness and top quality education. Knowing more for that reason, for those reasons. So I tend to think of others, because I'm not always going to be here. And when we leave our works, and not just leave Earth, but when you leave your product, your book, your story, when you put it out to the world, you've left it. So you give it to them. It's no longer yours. My works are no longer mine. It's done. However, if I've done a good job and made myself clear, then I've accomplished my goal. If my intentions are unclear, then I failed. But I grab a hold of a book, the Book of Moors, or a shorter one to get your feet wet, 75-page book called Moorish American Nationality Keys of the Moorish American Institute. All right, so I think we are about at 30 minutes. We got a few minutes left because I came to this room late. So does anyone have any questions? All righty. So where can we purchase your book? You can purchase my book on, can we flash that for them? And I'll go ahead and say it. Amazon.com. If you have any problem with the title, punch in the title and my name as well. And I typed that in the room there for you to see. You can also get the book from my website, the Moorish American. Probably flash it on screen for you now. But it's the Moorish American Institute.org. All righty. Be sure to follow me on Facebook. I have a blog called Lonnie's Blog. On YouTube, I have Lonnie's Show. And the blog is also on, Lonnie's blog is also on the Moorish American Institute.org. Sign up and you'll be the first one to get the next blog. And I have my next blog coming out. It's about Kung Fu. Moorish rabbit hole of Kung Fu. All right. So, yes, I think there's no questions. Remember, here at Readers Magnet, we share your stories with the world. Thank you.